Your precious testosterone is getting converted into estrogen. And so this is why you see a lot of guys with the beer belly, the man boobs, their skinny fat. It ruins your physiology. We're going to talk all about all the fad diets, the low carb diets, Atkins diets. There's even meat only carnivore diets now. We're talking about the protein myth. We're going to talk about what not to eat, things that are killing your testosterone levels that you never would have thought of that you're eating, maybe even every day. It's been known to directly decrease testosterone by actually changing the physiology of your testicles. We're going to talk about the top 30 testosterone grocery list that will transform your diet. So this is going to be very practical stuff that you can implement right away. This is low-hanging fruit. It's going to answer all your questions about all the confusion and all the aggravation and debate that people have on this topic of what to eat. So right off the bat, what I want to talk about is alcohol and beer. So this is really fun. This is super interesting. We're talking about 1492, Middle Ages, the Catholic Church, and how beer and wine and alcohol was being manufactured back then. It was very different than what it is today. Completely different. So back then, it was known to be a drink that encouraged men to be aggressive and sexual and just so full of vigor and energy that there was actually a drink that was sold in these bars that German berserkers would have before they went into battle. It actually increased the vigor to that extent. And so what was happening? In come the Protestants. In comes the Catholic Church. And what's happening when you have a low level of economic prosperity, a growing population, and then a population that is getting aggressive and causing problems? What do you think the Catholic Church is going to say? We have to decrease all this mating. And so what they did was they understood what was happening with the population, and they passed the first drug control act that we have recorded. And what they did was they mandated the use of hops in the beers. This is the first time hops ever got put into the beers. And what it did is it decreased all of the effects that the beer was giving the men in terms of vigor and vitality and aggressiveness and assertiveness. And basically what hops does is so phytoestrogenic, is it basically pacifies you and it makes you sleepy and passive. So that's exactly what they wanted to do. So the church changed beer from this warrior type drink into a very anti-mating, anti-problem, sleep-inducing drink. Because it just solved their problems back then. You don't want people mating. And so it was actually very interesting. They had all these people harvesting hops because they needed to put the hops into the drink to control the population. And what they noticed was the women who were harvesting the hops started getting disrupted menstrual cycles. And they noticed that the men who were handling the hops in the breweries started having sexual dysfunction, erectile dysfunction, and became impotent. And now we understand that's because the chemicals in the hops can actually go into your bloodstream transdermally through the skin. And so if it made the men impotent who were just handling it on a daily basis, think about what you're doing when you're putting into your system and drinking it on a daily basis. It's been known to directly decrease testosterone by actually changing the physiology of your testicles and their ability to create testosterone. It actually messes with the Leydig cells, which is the cells in your testicles, and it makes it so that it can't produce as much testosterone. Not only that, but it's actually converting the testosterone that you do produce into estrogen. It's horrible. So it increases the molecule aromatase. Aromatase is what converts testosterone into estrogen. Your precious testosterone is getting converted into estrogen. And so this is why you see a lot of guys with the beer belly, the man boobs, their skinny fat. It ruins your physiology. It ruins your aesthetics. They would actually call it the droop. These men in the breweries, because their face actually started to droop. You know, masculine aesthetics has like very defined, sharp jaw lines. You can actually see the muscles very defined in the face. Once it starts getting puffy and droopy, you know you're doing something wrong. So, what I recommend, if you're going to drink, I recommend you not drink beer. If you really just love beer, you have to find an old school type tonic beer that does not have the hops. Now let me pull up this note that I have right here. I'll give you the name of a couple. So you want to have, let's see, like ales, heather ales, traditional pine ale, Scottish pine. Pine is actually amazing. It actually has testosterone. And drink Gruit. Gruit is actually what the beer was called back in the Middle Ages, when it had all these different ingredients that increased virility. So you can still buy Gruit. You're just going to have to search. And by the way, you can drink wine. If you drink wine, especially like bottled wines, that's going to be so much better for your hormonal health than drinking beer. So, mental note, beer is the worst drink that you can drink for a man, period. Period. It's testosterone suicide. It's the worst thing that you can possibly drink as a man. The worst. So, that's alcohol. Side note, if you actually drink 1 or 2 cups of alcohol coming from wine or Gruit, there's actually been studies that show it helps your testosterone, it helps your androgen profile. So it's not that alcohol is always bad. It's just when you're drinking it from beer, it's automatically bad if it has hops, which almost every beer does. And on top of that, if you're drinking more than 2 servings of alcohol a day, studies have showed plummets your testosterone, even if it's coming from healthy sources. So don't drink more than 2 servings a day. All right, so moving on our list of what not to eat, you want to avoid soy. You probably already knew this, so I'm not going to spend a lot of time on it. Soy has powerful phytoestrogens and also increases prolactin. There's so much research on this. You probably don't even have to take my word for it. You already know this. Something very similar to soy in its phytoestrogen profile, though, is flax. So flaxseed is touted as this healthy food because it has good omega-3s. But, I mean, this is good news. If you cut out your flax consumption, you can actually decrease your estrogen levels and increase your testosterone levels. So that's a 1-2 punch. If you're eating any kind of soy or flax, cut it out. It also doesn't have a really ideal balance of fatty acids. It has a lot of PUFA and omega-6 compared to saturated fat, monounsaturated fat, and omega-3. So cut those out. A couple of other herbs that you want to avoid is licorice, also phytoestrogenic, decreases testosterone. Don't eat licorice. Let me check my notes here. I know that there's another one that I'm missing. Oh yeah, mints, which includes peppermints, spearmint. Check your toothpaste, check your teas, make sure that you're not getting these mints. Again, phytoestrogens and chemicals that inhibit other androgenic precursors like luteinizing hormone. They can also increase SHBG, which is this nasty little enzyme in your body that basically grabs onto testosterone and makes it so that testosterone cannot exert its effects. It binds up the testosterone, kind of like getting married. So you don't want to have these effects coming from these foods. Another one that you want to avoid that decreases your testosterone is grapefruit. Kind of random, right? But this is what the science shows. You want to avoid, just to review, soy, flax, licorice, mint, grapefruit, beer, hops. Also, like we mentioned, avoid inorganic foods because the herbicides and the pesticides. So now that we've talked about a general list of things that can really plummet your testosterone, I want to move back to what you can eat to help your testosterone levels. So jumping right into it, we're going to start with how much should you eat in general, the topic of calories. Does it matter how much you eat? It does. Studies show, and we're going to be using science throughout this whole video series. Everything on this channel, by the way, is backed by science. I only read information for myself that is science backed, and I'll have a bibliography and a reference sheet at the end so that you can see everything, okay? I'm not going to waste your time or my time buy foods and supplements that don't actually have results behind it, okay? That being said, I've experimented with all these things that I've talked about. Ever since I was 13, I've been trying different diets, from the Atkins diet to low-calorie diet, vegan diet, vegetarian diet, a lot of meat, no meat at all, meal timing too, fasting, yogi diet. So I've put all this to the test. That's the other thing. I'm not just talking from reading books either. So I have the science and we have the practical application. So calories and how much you should eat. Now, if you're eating too little, the science and literature shows your testosterone levels can be decreased by about 31%. So let that sink in. If you're not eating enough, you can be killing your testosterone levels. So rule number 1, implement today, is eat enough calories. But John, how much is enough calories? Well, you gotta think about it. If you're a skinny guy, a hard gainer that's never gained weight in 5, 10, 15 years, then you're gonna have to eat a little bit more. As long as you're not losing weight, you're probably not killing your testosterone levels, but it wouldn't hurt you to eat a little bit more. So for people who haven't been able to gain weight and you're hitting the gym and you don't really gain muscle or strength, you have to eat more. And this will increase your testosterone and ADHD levels. So yay! This is good news, right? Especially if you're like one of these vegetarian or vegan guys, and we'll talk about that in a second, because I've been there. It's harder to get enough calories because your diet is already restrictive. If you're doing any diet that says don't eat this kind of food, you're going to have to eat a lot more of other kinds of food, which can get hard. So if you're a hard gainer, my number 1 tip is to drink blender bombs, which means you're going to throw a whole bunch of sugar, fat into a blender and drink it. And you're going to do that at least every day. Why? Because it's the easiest way to get calories. You're drinking calories. Oil is the most calorie-dense food in the world. So we're going to talk about oil and what kind of oil. But just put a lot of oil. If you put a quarter cup of oil, that's easily packing 500 to 1,000 calories that you can drink in a couple seconds. So I don't want to hear from the hard gainers, I can't gain muscle, I can't gain weight. Yes, you can. Just drink more oil. It's impossible for you not to gain weight if you have the right things. You combine fat with the sugar, your body will gain. So that's number 1. This video is going to be a little bit longer. I'm going to really go into the detail of everything. So relax and let's jump into number 2. We're talking about the macronutrient ratios. So if you've been in the diet and nutrition world for any amount of time, you know that there's all kinds of people who are always debating on what percentages you should have of protein to carbs to fat. Okay, especially the people in the gym are always touting you should have at least 1 gram of protein per pound of body weight. You hear all this stuff being thrown around, and a lot of people are just against sugar or low carb because carb increases insulin and insulin increases chronic diseases and inflammation. So let's clear up all this confusion. Because, then you also have the vegans who are talking about how fat clogs your arteries, avoid cholesterol, it's a demon that causes atherosclerosis. Okay, so all the mumbo jumbo that's being thrown around. Let's cut directly through all that, okay? Here's the brass tacks. You don't want to have too much protein. Protein is actually the least important macronutrient for testosterone. You want to focus on high quality carbs and fat. And I'll just throw this right out there. The optimal ratio is going to be approximately 40% fat, 40% carbs, and 20% protein. You can't have 120%. So we're going to talk about each of those macronutrients. Carbs. What kind of carbs do you want? So you want to think about these in two different bins. The first bin you have is like starches and grains. The second bin that you have is fruits, vegetables, potatoes, tubers, that bin. So what you want to do is have more from the fruits and vegetables starches than from the wheats and the grains. Now, why is that? Mostly it's because of gluten. All these people talking about, I'm gluten-free, I'm gluten-free. Is that good? Is that bad? Are they just hippies and they are just following trends? Or is there actually science behind it? So the science behind gluten is that it can actually affect your hormone profile, which means you can be producing more prolactin, which is a feminizing hormone. It's kind of like estrogen, so you don't want prolactin. So that's why wheat and gluten should actually be avoided by men who want to increase their testosterone. Now, this is not all the time. It's not a huge dramatic effect like what we're going to talk about with soy and flax. It doesn't have that strong phytoestrogens, but it is slightly linked to prolactin, and it's also linked to glyphosate, which is an herbicide, which is an endocrine disruptor. It messes up your hormones, okay? So if you're going to eat wheat or rice or starches, make sure it's organic, and then make sure it's not a majority of what you're eating. We're talking about breads and pastas and all kinds of rices. What you want to do is get more fruits, vegetables, potatoes, yams, yucca, quinoa, farro, sorghum. Sorghum is actually one of the best. We'll talk about that in a second. So get more from that bin and get less from, breads and cereals. If you're eating breakfast cereals and sliced bread and a lot of wheat products, it's just not optimal. I would say switch over to the vegetables and the fruits. And don't be afraid of sugar! Don't be afraid of sugar! We evolved eating fruits! Where do you think we came from? All these people who are afraid of sugar, afraid of honey, you're missing out on some of the best nutrient foods that actually help with your hormones, help with your brain health, and give you energy and keep you light and fast and integrate with your DNA quickly. So don't be afraid of fruits. Actually, you're going to see, once we go through the 30-item superhero grocery list to increase your testosterone, you're going to see so many fruits, it'll make your head spin. And you'll feel like an idiot for avoiding fruits your whole life because they have so many nutrients and vitamins and enzymes like resveratrol that actually decrease estrogen and increase testosterone and protect your heart and your organs. So realize you're missing out on medicine and you're missing out on testosterone if you're not eating fruits. Think of the islanders, the Hawaiians, the Jamaicans. They're eating fruits all the time. These people are strong. So get over it. Get over the fear of sugar. Sugar is only bad when it's coming from sources of refined sugar. It's pretty obvious. It's pretty obvious. But if it's growing from the earth, don't be afraid of it. It's a fruit. Don't be so afraid of it. That's so naive. So here's the thing with fat, carbs, and protein. Let's move on from the carbs and talk about fat. So fat is essential that you get the right kinds of fats and enough of it. A lot of people don't get enough of the right kinds of fats. And here's another point. You're not looking at the ingredient list. Some of you, going back to carbs, don't even know when you're eating wheat, rice. You're not looking at organic. You don't know what you're actually ingesting because you're eating a lot of this garbage, prepackaged stuff that you don't even look at the ingredients. So you don't even know what you're doing. You don't even know what you're eating. So start looking at the ingredient list so that you know what you're eating. So for example, let's say you get some kind of packaged food, whether it's a health food or whatever, like peanuts. You buy peanuts from a gas station. You're thinking you're just getting peanuts. You're not. You're getting peanuts soaked in sunflower oil. And let me just explain why that's important. You might say, but John, it's sunflower oil. It's from sunflowers. That sounds good. Don't be deceived by the label. Sunflower oil is a polyunsaturated fat. You should avoid polyunsaturated fats like they're the devil. They will destroy your brain, your heart, your organs, and your testosterone. And they're everywhere. So what are PUFAs, polyunsaturated fats? They're the oils that a lot of food manufacturers put in their products to extend shelf life. It includes canola oil, vegetable oil, peanut oil, cottonseed oil, sunflower oil, canola oil. It's basically on any packaged food. You're going to see it. It's actually in everything. It's in sauces. Start checking the sauces, the dressings that you eat. And if you see any of these oils, corn oil. Basically, if you see any oil except for organic coconut oil, argan oil, or olive oil, avoid it like the plague. Just do yourself that favor. You're going to be saving your organs, your brain. You don't even realize how it impacts your brain and your ability to concentrate and your energy levels. It's destroying your arteries, your blood. It's destroying your insulin. This is why you have brain fog and chronic fatigue. It could be linked back to some of these simple things. You're eating PUFAs, and yeah, it actually makes you fatter too. It makes you it can cause acne. It destroys your aesthetics. So I can't emphasize it enough. Start understanding and noticing what you're eating and when you're eating PUFAs, and stop. Just stop. It has to stop, or else you can't compete. You won't be able to compete. So that's what you don't want. You don't want PUFAs and you don't want trans fats. They're kind of the same thing. You're gonna get trans fats in like confections, sweets. Like if you're eating honey buns and donuts, and you think that's not having an impact on you, it is. It just is. You can't avoid it. So I'm not saying be paranoid and you have to be perfect, but just realize it's dangerous when it's sneaking in and you don't know it. So start looking at ingredient lists. You could be eating a recurring testosterone killer in the salad dressing that you're eating. So you think you're eating a healthy salad? Think again, because you're eating PUFAs in your salad dressing. It's sunflower oil. You didn't even know for 5 years. Surprise! This is why you've had chronic fatigue, brain fog, skinny fat, and man boobs, and you're slightly depressed and anxious. It can really be linked back to that. Don't underestimate it. I'm telling you, we're going to dig deep into these kind of things and how small amounts of these poisons can completely change how you feel. This could be the key to your acne. This could be the key to your man boobs. This could be the key to your energy and your chronic fatigue and anxiety. When your body's poisoned and you think maybe that would affect your mood, your irritability. Maybe you feel a little bit anxious because you're slightly getting assaulted from the inside. Your pH is acidic. So don't underestimate these things. So, skip the Dunkin' Donuts and Starbucks muffins. Come on. And let's talk about the fats that you do want, all right? You want MUFAs, MUFAS, monounsaturated fatty acids. You want omegas, and you want saturated fats. What did he say? You want saturated fats? The vegan community is coming after me right now. They're angry because, their whole thing is that they think that saturated fats will clog your arteries. That's not right. That's wrong. I'll show you some science on that. Basically, you want these three kinds of fats because they will not only make your joint health better, but they will make your brain health better and they'll increase your testosterone. You see, a lot of these fats have the precursors of what your body needs to create testosterone. And by the way, low-fat diets, which is like less than 30% of your diet coming from fat, proven lower testosterone levels. By the way, same thing with carbs. Lower than 30% of your diet coming from carbs, poof, poof. Your testosterone levels are going to go poof. Trust me. You don't want to decrease fat or carbs. You need them both or you're going to feel weak, lethargic, and frail. You need the fat like oil and lubricant to make your body function correctly. Don't overlook this. So, where you get MUFAs and SFAs, avocados, olive oil, coconut oil, top three, argan oil, also extremely beneficial. Peanuts, we're going to talk about the grocery list. Macadamia nuts, almonds, walnuts, excellent. Pecans, Brazil nuts, anything from nuts or those oils that we just mentioned, fantastic. Also, somewhat controversial, but when you get a healthy animal and you actually eat the meat around the joint with the fat and you get a little bit of the cartilage, did you know how much nutrients that has? Excuse me. And what the cartilage can do. Because that actually has a lot of nutrients that you might not have learned about. It's called collagen. And what it has is peptides and amino acids that support your thinking process and your libido and your microbiome, your digestion, your immunity. Powerful agents. This is why bone broth has been used in Indian and Chinese medicine for thousands of years. Okay? So don't be afraid of eating some fat from a nice pork chop. Or if you get a grass-fed, cage-free, no antibiotic chicken, and you're eating that dark meat leg, you don't have to take off all the fat. Eat some of the fat. Your body will thank you. Your balls will thank you too. Because it's going to help with your testosterone production. So get those saturated fats. And don't be afraid of the coconut oil. Don't be afraid of saturated fats. Just make sure that the animal you're getting it from is healthy. And that leads us into the conversation we have to have about protein. Okay, mic is still going. Good. Protein. You don't want to have more than 20% of your calories from protein because if you do, basically, we can talk about a couple things. First of all, that just means that you're going to be eating less carbs and less fats, which is bad because of the reasons we just talked about. You want to be loading your body with the carbs and the fats for recovery purposes. Secondly, if you're eating a lot of meat, that's going to be hard on your digestion, especially for an average person. You can't eat that much meat without it harming your gut bacteria a little bit, because what happens is it takes so long to go through your system, it putrefies, and then it becomes toxic in your colon. It starts to ferment and stink and rancidify, and that's a whole other topic, but just don't eat too much meat. High levels of meat intake has also been linked to cancer. So I would not suggest more than 20% of your calories coming from protein, and you don't need to follow any randomly prescribed bro science talking about 1 gram of protein per kg of body weight or 2 grams of protein per pound of body weight. Forget about all that. There's no science on that. Okay? That's just bro science. That's just gym rat nonsense. Sorry. So don't worry about taking your whey protein powders. Don't worry about getting your protein from supplements. Focus on getting it from healthy organic foods. Now, if you're going to eat meat, there's actually some good literature showing that amino acids from animal sources are actually superior for stimulating testosterone production. But it has to be from a healthy animal. Now, what defines a healthy animal? It's complicated. You have to get all those adjectives that precede the actual name of the animal. For example, if you're going to get a chicken, it has to be cage-free, free range, organic, no antibiotic, no growth hormone. Look for those 5, okay? Of particular importance is all of them. You really don't want them to be injecting the animals that you eat with antibiotics because you're eating that. You also don't want them eating non-organic food because that means you're eating pesticides and herbicides, which is highly toxic to your endocrine system, will destroy your testosterone levels. So just pay the extra money and don't get cancer. Yeah, it's worth it. Not eating poison, it's worth it. On that note, make sure that you eat organic for everything, including the vegetables, the fruits, the grains. You don't want glyphosate in your system. Check out my other video where I talk about endocrine disrupting chemicals and pesticides and how to detox, because you're going to need to do that because there's poisons everywhere, even in organic. But you have to do as good as you can do to make sure that you don't poison yourself. All right, so wrapping up the macronutrients, we'll touch on cholesterol. It's good to eat cholesterol for testosterone production. So eggs are great. Don't be afraid of eating cholesterol. The whole myth that it clogs your arteries is stupid. That's like saying Band-Aids are the reason why your arm got amputated because you used too many Band-Aids. Because we found that when people needed to get an arm amputated, they used a lot of Band-Aids before. That's the logic of saying that cholesterol clogs your arteries. Okay? They basically think that just because the Band-Aid inside your artery that healed the inflammation is there, that's what caused the clog. No, 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 no. No. It's the inflammation, and it's the chronic inflammation that constantly causes your body to have to lay down layers and layers and layers and layers and layers of additional Band-Aid, and then you eventually get a thrombosis. You get a heart attack. It's not cholesterol. It's just that the Band-Aid is made out of cholesterol. Cholesterol is actually naturally produced in your body, and it's an anti-inflammatory. So if you don't have enough cholesterol, you're going to feel sore, and you're going to feel a lot more pain. You need cholesterol to produce testosterone. If you don't have cholesterol, you cannot produce it. It's a building block. So forget about all the paranoia around eating eggs and cholesterol. It's ridiculous. So yeah, eat your cholesterol. You actually need it. It's actually a very helpful, strengthening nutrient that you need. All right, so that should wrap up macronutrients. I want to talk about micronutrients. So micronutrients are the vitamins and the minerals that you need for your body to function optimally and create things like testosterone that you need to feel optimal. Now, here's the weird thing. What percentage of people do you think have deficiencies in these micronutrients? 10% of the population in America? 20, 30, 40? Actually, for the 10 essential micronutrients and vitamins, it's at least 50% for most, if not all, of the 10 most important micronutrients for testosterone production. That's a disgrace. That is so bad. I really want you to hone in on this with me. And we'll talk about why. But we're talking about 30% of the population to 90% of the population have deficiencies in vitamins. And this is killing your hormonal health. This is killing your energy levels. This is killing your ability to concentrate and focus. And this is killing your ability to be happy because your body feels insecure. You don't have what you need to produce all of these enzymes. And your body doesn't have the gas it needs to run. So one of the reasons why we don't have enough vitamins and minerals is because the farmers are just harvesting these fruits and all of our food in infertile land. It's just dead land. So that's unfortunate. That's why it's best to get all your food from farmers markets, grow it on your own, start a little garden. I understand you can't do that with everything. I don't even do that with everything. It'll be too hard. But what you want to do is at least eat the foods that I'm going to explain to you that have high levels of these nutrients. Okay? And what you want to do is take a multivitamin that covers all these ingredients that I'm about to list out to you. Okay? So the 10 most important vitamins and minerals that you need, you can remember it by the acronym ICED, ABS, MSM. That's ICED, ABZ, MSM. That stands for, let's go through it. Iodine. C is for calcium. E is for vitamin E. D is for vitamin D. A is for vitamin A. B is for vitamin B. Z is for zinc. ABS. M is for magnesium. S is for selenium. And M is for manganese. So those are the 10. You don't really have to know that, but when you're looking at the vitamins and minerals in the fruits, in the vegetables, and all the foods, if you can see some of these essential vitamins and minerals, just know that this can help double or triple your testosterone levels by fixing a deficiency. Now, out of those 10, these are the 5 most important. Magnesium, selenium, vitamin D, zinc, and choline. Those are the 5 most important. Okay? So these will be covered mostly in the 30-item superfood grocery list that I'm going to give you at the end of this episode. So make sure you print that out and get all these foods and turn your pantry and your refrigerator into a pharmacy. A testosterone pharmacy. That's what you're going to be doing. So that will cover your micronutrient deficiencies. I'll also include in that list that you can download as a PDF too, my recommended multivitamins that you cannot have any of these deficiencies. Because believe me, if you have these deficiencies, then you're destroying your testosterone levels. No matter what you do, if you have these vitamin deficiencies, you're toast. You're done. You can't compete if you don't have these essential nutrients to create testosterone. It's literally deadly. People can die from nutrient deficiencies. So don't underestimate this. And don't underestimate the fact that we have less vitamins and minerals in our soil. All right, so we've talked about what not to eat. We've talked about calories and how much you should eat. We've talked about macronutrients. We've talked about micronutrients. So what I'd like to talk about now is let's touch on probiotics. So why do you want probiotics? Have you ever thought about this? You know, you hear a lot of people talking about probiotics, gut flora. Your gut is your second brain. You hear that one being thrown around a lot. And you even have these ancient Greeks and Romans who are big on gut health, like Hippocrates saying all disease starts in the gut. So what's the big deal? What's the big deal on gut health? Why? So related to testosterone, you're going to want to focus on this because your gut flora, it actually detoxes so much of the toxins that directly annihilate your testosterone. We're talking about heavy metals, phytoestrogens, and estrogens. So understand, if you don't have proper gut health, we're talking about vitamin K and we're talking about your probiotics, which we're going to get into. You're going to be toxic. See, a lot of your immune system and your detox capacity is in your gut. We're just talking about your intestines. So you actually have zillions of these little organisms living in your intestines. And what are they doing? They're not just living normal lives. They're exuding chemicals and hormones and neuropeptides, which actually get into your blood and affect your brain. That's why they call it the second brain. They're influencing your brain. Weird. It's really weird. So based on what you're eating and what's in your gut, you're changing your brain via those mechanisms. Now, this is science. This is completely proven and has huge impacts on your mood, your energy, your immunity, and your testosterone levels. So don't underestimate this point. Okay? So what are we talking about? You need to be thinking about feeding your gut flora with a couple of these foods every day. All right? The choice is up to you. Whether you like getting it from healthy dairy sources or if you like getting it from more bitter sources in liquid form, kind of like apple cider vinegar, that's up to you. But here's your options. Get it from like fermented vegetables, and you can do this on your own. Check out my video on how to ferment your own vegetables. Talking about kimchi, pickles, sauerkraut, stuff like that. Excellent. Excellent. Full of nutrients. Then you have other things like dairy. We're talking about yogurt, curd, kefir. Excellent source. And by the way, you're getting different cultures from all these different sources, right? Which is really important. So I recommend a variety of these things. Then you have your kombuchas and your apple cider vinegars. Excellent, just completely excellent. You're going to see huge changes in your mental health, your immunity, your energy levels, especially when you start doing this on a daily basis. Your digestion is going to improve, which is more important than people really understand. So, and then you have your supplements. You can supplement all these probiotics, easy but expensive. All right, so I recommend you just get yourself some healthy pickles. I wouldn't get it actually like the typical jarred ones. Try and find something that doesn't have all these preservatives in it. Just get yourself some apple cider vinegar, kombucha that doesn't have excess amounts of sugar. Usually for like 2 cups of kombucha, you shouldn't have more than 8 grams of sugar, or else they're just loading it up. You don't need that much sugar. You can make your own kombucha. But that's that. Get your probiotics. That'll make a huge difference in your testosterone levels, and you'll detox and have less estrogen. All right, so we've been talking about nutrition for quite some time now. I want to wrap this up. I'm sure your head is kind of spinning. There's a lot to think about. So I'm going to wrap this up with our 30-item grocery list for superhero testosterone levels. So what you want to do is take this to the grocery store immediately and buy all of these things and see how good you feel. Seriously, you will feel the difference. And I'm going to include 5 recipes of how to incorporate all these things because that's how nice of a guy I am. I'm thinking about you. I'm thinking about how to make it easy for you to integrate everything we just learned. So it's actionable. Don't watch this without taking action. Go buy these foods and make one of these recipes today to start fixing your testosterone levels and becoming your best self. All right, so I'm just going to spit these out. I'm going to have a completely another video that goes into the science behind these 30 superfoods that increase your testosterone. See it right here, or click the link in the description. Again, tons of science behind this, but let's just jump into them. All right, machine gun, rapid fire. You're going to want macadamia nuts, cinnamon, potatoes. Epic Bar is actually a bar that has healthy grass-fed meat. Beef gelatin, coffee, Brazil nuts, extra virgin olive oil, raisins, parsley, ginger, raw cacao, eggs, real salt, argan oil, avocados, white button mushrooms, baking soda, yogurt, grass-fed bacon, minced meat, pomegranates, blue cheese, dark berries, grass-fed butter or ghee, sorghum, which is a wheat substitute, coconut oil, organic bacon, onions, garlic, and oysters. Okay, so go out and buy as many of those as you can. And if you don't like oysters like me, don't worry too much. There's always ways to get those other minerals and vitamins. So that's that. You know, we could talk about supplements that you can eat, but that's a completely another video. That'd take too much time. This is food. This is what you're doing every day anyway. You don't have to go out of your way to buy more expensive supplements, which most of them aren't really that expensive anyway. But this is what you're doing every day anyway. All it requires is you reorganize the way that you eat and what you're buying. Figure out a few recipes with what I'm going to give you. Boom. Your testosterone is changed and you're changed. Everything about your life is changed just because you changed how you eat. That's the power of this. So, buy those foods. Here's a bonus. 6 foods that actually contain testosterone itself. Did you know that foods can actually contain testosterone? We're talking about the actual androgen. Alright? So, surprise. Here's 7 of my favorite androgen containing foods. Number 1, pine nuts and pine pollen. Number 2, celery. Number 3, cucumbers. Number 4, corn. Number 5, oats. Number 6, garlic. And number 7, spinach. We can include kale with that. So, bonus on the bonus, kale. So, that's a whole nother video going into the science of that, but it's proven they have androgens, which are male hormones. So, that's that, guys. Buy all those foods and find the link below for the 5 recipes. It's going to basically be a recipe for a soup, a salad, a smoothie, a side dish of guacamole, and a burger. And all of those will have the best testosterone boosting foods in the world so that you can incorporate those into your life and start today on your testosterone boosting journey. So that's a wrap for today. It's been good. Incorporate this into your life and let me know the recipes that you like to incorporate all those foods into. Let me know any questions you have about particular diets, about particular foods. And remember, guys, this can change everything about how you feel, your brain, your body, your energy. You will heal your pain and your energy. You'll upgrade your body and your mind, and you'll live again with passion. So, restore your mojo, Jojo. Restore the roar. And until next time, thank you for watching. I love you guys very much. And stay tuned. Like and subscribe to stay in touch with all this information. And I will catch you next time. Peace.